In this video, I'm going to talk about the posture when playing the flute, and I'm going to remark on standing as well as sitting, because I know in band the students are obviously sitting. Either way, I do want you to know it's okay for the students to have a downward angle. Frequently there's a mistaken belief that flute should be perfectly parallel. Firstly, I'll invite you to take a look at some photographs of some of the most famous, successful flutists in history. And although they move around a bit, you can certainly find shots where they're probably standing straight. Their default position is downward. Things to watch out for, though, there's such a thing as too downward. Not only is something like this going to be hard to play into, but it's cramping maybe the hands and the arms. If students have their arms next to their body tight, that these little T-Rex arms that they're trying to play with are going to be much more stressed out in here. So we do want to, engage the muscles underneath the tops of our arms here, and not just the forearms. However, the problem with perfectly straight is now I'm stressing out this shoulder. And as well, it's a little unnatural frequently. So it's a lot more of a natural, comfortable position for it to be a slight downward angle. And I can still easily play this way. So there's nothing wrong with that. And same with seated to play that way. However, one thing I want you to notice on the side view is that the flute is actually pointing a little out away from my body. I sympathize so much with the limited space that band directors are frequently working with. I really do. As a former band director myself, and as a former band member myself, I know how difficult it can be to get proper posture positioning. But students who are, leaning forward to try to weave in front of another student, and students putting their arms back behind another student, this is really quite unhealthy. As much as possible, spacing them, giving them adequate space to position more comfortably is so important, and will also help their playing level as well. When seated, a common mistake is that they sit with their backs hyperextended, so that because they've been told sit straight. And clearly this is poor posture. So yes, there is a certain amount of straightness that we want them to sit, but then they go too far and they start arching their back in order to play straight. And this is another position of tension, which can cause pain, as well as it impacts the sound negatively. So students should be using the core in their abdomen in order to support the sound. And when you arch your back, that becomes very difficult to do, and you start to use your back muscles to try to support the sound instead. Better positioning, actually, when seated or standing, is that their hips are slightly turned forward, and this relaxes the back, as well as it really kind of forces them to engage their core. And so seated as well, they should feel like their hips are slightly forward. Many people, not just flutists, stand rather incorrectly. We get into habits of maybe standing on one hip, and all of these positions that are really not good for you, and not good for the flute player. So that is posture on the flute.